All right. Good morning. Good morning. Let's get our other folks up in here. There we go. Boom. It is time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, Scott Kennedy. Scott, good morning to you. How's the coffee? Nice and hot? Poured? Good to go?
It is. It's poured. I haven't had my first sip yet. I like to time it so I've got something to hit on while we're in the show. Otherwise, I'd hit this at about 7 a.m. when I got up.
Yeah.
Then I'd just be sipping on water all practice. But I like to show off the mug, a little coffee, let the caffeine kick in about 15 minutes in the show, and we're flying.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's very good. I'm running dangerously low on creamer, so I might need to make a grocery store trip today at some point. I know
Or
you're
just not use it.
Yeah, it's not as much. It is for me, but it's also for Natalie as well. So probably, I think it's inevitable. I'll be making a trip to the grocery store. I do like it black. Honestly, I like it black on the trail. I have like a really fancy, not a fancy, but I have a nice jet boil stove. Jet boil, sponsor the show. That'd be awesome. A jet boil stove, and I have a coffee French press adapter to it. So making that on the trail and drinking from the stove itself is very, very nice. I really, really enjoy doing that.
When it comes to food and stuff, I'm just that lazy. I'm like,
Mm.
man, that's one more step. I'm not gonna go back to the refrigerator. Come on.
That's
It's
I
sad.
respect it.
It's
No.
sad.
It's innovative. It's efficient. So let's welcome in everybody. Ethan's in the house. Morning, gents in Broncos country. Good to see you, Ethan. We got Luke in the house as well. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Nick, what do you think about Mikael Wright, cornerback from Oregon? Could Denver get him in the 5th? I think that's a good range for him. I like him. He's got some inside-outside versatility. He's not Javon Holland, but he's a good player. I think he'd be a good depth corner there. If you're looking for a 5th cornerback, I think the Broncos need a cornerback that can come in and take some slot reps in case Kawan Williams gets hurt, and Wright would be a good fit there. So that's definitely a body and a name to keep an eye on. Mile High Truth in the house. Good morning, everybody. With the horse, let's go. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. US Dave, good to see you, US Dave. I won't block you. Buenos dias, all. Good to see you. James Hyatt, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Jeremy's in the house too. Morning, guys. Juan Gonzalez, good morning, Nick and Scott. What do you guys think about Channing Tindall, Greg Dulcich, and Pierre Strong? Are they options for you? Broncos for breakfast. Scott, do you have any thoughts on the names given by Juan here?
I haven't watched Channing Tindall, but he sure, measured nicely. I didn't
Yeah,
watch a ton of Georgia. And they've had so many players that you could
it's hard.
miss a really good player because he just
Yeah.
wasn't his day, because somebody else was making plays. But coming in at 6'2", 225 at linebacker, 33, 32-inch arms, 4'7", 42-inch vertical, 129. He certainly ticks the boxes.
Yeah.
And this is what we were talking about. If you heard George Payton press conference talking about what you're looking for in the later rounds, he basically just, I'm not going to say repeated because it's not like he was watching us,
Yeah.
but reaffirmed what we said yesterday. In the later rounds, you're looking for traits. You're looking for speed. They're not going to be it's one or the other. They're either really good football players who don't have the traits that you're thinking, okay, maybe we can get a chance on this guy and he just outplays his physical ability. That happens. Or we're going to get a guy who's not that great a football player, but he's really, really good physically.
Yeah.
This guy, Channing Tindall, is really, really good physically. I don't know how great a football player is, to be perfectly honest with you, but his physical measurements put him in the upper tier of athleticism for linebackers.
Yeah, Channing Tindall is unfortunately for him, the 3rd horse on that linebacking core for Georgia. It sounds like Quay Walker is going to be the first linebacker taken out of that Georgia team, potentially even the first linebacker in the draft, which is crazy. I think it'll probably be Devin Lloyd in the end, but from all accounts that I'm picking up on, Quay Walker has passed Nakobe Dean as the best linebacker for Georgia. So keep an eye on that. Channing Tindall, he was rotational at Georgia. Solid player, solid across the board. I don't think there's anything about him that really totally stands out on tape, but maybe that's partially because Nakobe Dean is instinctual as heck. And also, Quay Walker is a free kite weight speed athlete. I mean, he's built like a linebacker. So I like Channing Tindall if he's there at pick 96. And the Broncos are looking to go linebacker. I wouldn't have an issue with that pick. I might want to wait until round 4. Would he be there then? I don't know, but that's a bet I might be willing to make, given my thoughts on the linebacking position's overall value. So we'll see. Greg Dulcich, excuse me. He's the move tight end from UCLA, I believe. I haven't watched too many tight ends. I probably should get on that because of the Noah Fant trade. But he is one that's a move tight end. He did pretty well there at UCLA. Some people think he's going to be the first tight end off the board this season, even a better athletic receiving threat than that of Trey McBride as far as an athlete and getting downfield vertically. So Dulcich makes sense. I think maybe he might be a little redundant to Albert Okwuegbunam after what Nathaniel Hackett just said the other day, where they're going to use they're going to use Okwuegbunam as a kind of wide receiver tight end hybrid, a move tight end. So Dulcich is that same exact role. I think you're probably looking for more of a true inside or a Y slash what's the other F tight end, one that you feel more comfortable with in lining up in line, but also doing some stuff detached from the line of scrimmage. Dulcich, if he's there, 96, 115, okay, that's fine. But I'm more interested in somebody like Daniel Bellinger, Trey McBride, Jeremy Ruckert, Cade Otton, who I think have a little bit more blocking upside as well. And Pierre Strong, man, if he's there round 4 and you're looking for a running back, I would be fine with that. He tested extremely well coming from South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, I believe they're good player. I haven't watched that much South Dakota State, but it's obvious when you watch it that this guy is a much better player than everybody else on the field. So, he's a good one. Those are some good names to keep an eye on, and thank you for shout out. Do you have any thoughts on Dulcich or Pierre Strong, Scott?
It's funny you mentioned the F tight end, because remember when I was talking about Anthony Barr and how he was being wasted at UCLA?
Yeah.
That's what he was playing. He
F
was
tight
playing
end.
that position. And how come we don't ever have any good defenses? That's why. Because you got Anthony Barr playing F back. Fix it. Get that fixed. 6'4", 242, a little bit light, so hybrid fullback. You can see it's like, are we going to take a fullback? There you go. That could be a guy you line up in the backfield too. Pierce Strong, 5'11", 207, 437. Yeah, that's a guy you don't mind missing on with that type of speed. Everybody's fast, and you've heard me say it before. Who can break the tackle? I'd rather have the 4.5 guy that shows the ability to break a tackle than the 4.37 guy who goes down at first contact. But I'd have to see the tape on him, and if it's just straight home runs, I'm not quite as interested. I want to see some between the tackles, clearing the trash, doing that those type of things too. But those are good names to keep an eye on. So thanks, Juan.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing with Pierre Strong, and again, I've only watched like 2 games of his, not great cut-ups or anything, but I have a non-negotiable for my running backs pass protection. If you can't pass protect, I'm not going to value you because you are the last line of defense a lot of times for my quarterback. And also, you lose such a massive strategical advantage if your running back can't pass block, because if that running back is in, guess what? It's probably a run play. So the defense is going to know what you're doing beforehand. That's one of the reasons
Or I can just blitz his side knowing I can truck him.
Yep, that too.
It's a free shot.
Exactly. So that's one of the reasons, not to punch down or anything, but Philip Lindsay, still not signed, not out there. When Philip Lindsay's on the field, it's probably a run play because they do not trust him in pass protection. It's just he can't hang.
It was one of the reasons, one of 50 plays that could have gone any direction to not blow a 28-3 lead. But ask Falcons fans about Devontae Freeman and going completely to the wrong side and leaving a free shot at Matt Ryan to help contribute to that loss. Mark Schrader coming in says, good morning, guys, buying us coffee with the coffee emoji. Appreciate you. And Jacob Foster, the silent one, as always, coming in, just showing the support. Appreciate you guys for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jacob. That's so nice of you. Got Chase Wellner coming in too, saying, hey, Chase liked our mock yesterday. Great mock yesterday, boys. Scott, what was your favorite pick of our mock yesterday? I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, I mean, Lucas, if I can get Lucas with that for Abraham Lucas, I'm a big fan of his. If I can get him at right tackle, I'm pretty happy after that. We're biased because we made the picks.
Yeah.
But Sam Williams is a super low risk, top 15 type of talent for me. Maybe I'm a little too high on him because everybody thought he was a top 15 talent, he'd be going first round, not necessarily going, and they'd be saying, okay, consequences be damned. We'll figure it out. But I really, really like him. And then, Tariq Woolen towards the end.
We didn't get Tariq Woolen.
No, I'm sorry. JT. We took JT Cook.
JT Woods.
JT Woods. The Baylor who can cook super fast, a 6'2", 4'3" guy at safety. So all those guys, I liked our draft. I thought we hit a bunch of needs and got some good players.
Yeah, my favorite was probably Zion McCollum, the cornerback from Sam Houston State. I do wish he had a little bit better arm length, but he is a freaky athlete. And he has a bunch of ball production at Sam Houston State as well. I think he had like 15 career interceptions or something insane. So
Yeah, and where
thank
did we
you.
get him? 7th?
We got him the pick 96.
Okay, we got him a little higher. Okay.
Yep. Some people think he's going to be a first one. We also got Perry on
Oh,
Winfrey.
6'2", 200, 4.33.
Yeah. And look at his agilities. I don't know if you record those in
I
there.
don't have them on mine, so
Okay.
I'll have to update. I put this spreadsheet together pretty much right after the draft, and I don't think everything had been filled in, so I need to update.
I know he killed it. He's a really good player. Some people think he's going to go round 2 to get him at 96. Yes, please. And he's going to be a special teams contributor year 1. So that's that name to keep an eye on. But thank you so much, Chase. We also got Sunny Days. Good to see you with the coffee, bringing it in. Mile High Truth saying it's time. Sean Burns, good morning to you both. You guys both put on the best morning show. Thank you. Well, thank you. There's a lot of good ones out there. So we appreciate that. That's nice. Draft is almost here. Can't wait to see who is possible future Bronco player for the Broncos. Any thoughts on who? I mean, gosh, that's
Abraham
tune
Lucas.
in. Yeah, tune in for the next freaking month, and we'll be talking about it a lot.
That's one I feel that there could get at that spot that I'd be super happy with. I mean, we can talk about, do you take Travis Jones if he's there? Yeah. If he falls, all of a sudden people don't want defensive tackles, nose guards anymore. But I think Abraham Lucas has a chance of being there, and I seem to be higher on him than most. And maybe our voice is getting amplified enough because I see a lot of this being repeated these days. But it just makes sense. It makes sense. Abraham Lucas at right tackle for the Denver Broncos makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I know that George Payton said that he would be potentially interested in trading up. So if Abraham Lucas falls, maybe that's something to interest you. I mean, this Broncos team, Broncos fans need to, and I need to do this as well, kind of shift your perspective and expectations. This isn't as much asset accumulation, flexibility gaining moves anymore. It is your window is now. The AFC West has not been this open since Patrick Mahomes won the MVP. And if there's a player you think that can be a difference maker for your 2022 team, and it doesn't cost a lot to go up and get, maybe you should consider that. So let's say Travis Jones falls to pick 50. I'm on the phone. I'm calling. Definitely. No doubt about it. Safeties as well. There's a Lewis Sign. If he falls, I would be interested in him. Jaquan Brisker, Jalen Petrie, Daxton Hill. If you're talking about maybe Bouye Mafe falls to pick 45, I'm on the phone. I'm seeing, hey, what's it going to take to go up and get that guy? So definitely some interest there for those guys. Will be fun to see. I know that Peyton also said he wants 10 picks. No doubt, no matter what, there's going to be some wheeling and dealing from Peyton. It's going to be a lot of fun. The picks they have right now is not going to be where
I've got the audio on that, the video of him on strategy. If we want to play it real quick, just to see what he said.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay, let me bring that up here real quick.
And I'll say hello to some people
he
here.
echoed a lot of what we have been saying because it's fairly obvious. This is a good draft in the middle of the draft. It is deep at these positions. They could trade up. So press videos, cuts, and Peyton on Wilson. He's a winner. George Payton. We could also trade up. Here we go.
It doesn't impact. I mean, they're just different players. We still have 9 picks, 64. So we'll focus more on the 64. We could also trade up, because we do have the ammo to still trade up. So it doesn't really change our process for the draft. If anything, it just, we dig in more, to the middle rounds, which I think it's going to be a strong draft in the middle rounds. Is there more? Well, I mean, we still have 9, so it's more than most, and I'm sure we'll have more by the end of it. There's no pressure. I mean, you always want to hit in your picks, no matter, if you have 9, if you have 10. I mean, last year we finished with 10, I believe, and I think we had 9 that played for us. So you love the picks, and you always want to hit on them, but you're not going to hit on all of them. So yeah, I think it's a really good edge class, pass rush. I like the corner class, the offensive tackle class. So I think it's, people have knocked the draft. I do think it's a strong draft, especially in the middle, like I said, where we're picking.
I swear that wasn't me. I swear it. That wasn't me. Even though y'all have all heard me say several of those things about especially I'm pretty adamant about this is not a weak draft. That's nuts. It is not. This is a strong draft. This once you get out of the top 20 to 100 is considerably better than last year, in my opinion. Nick?
I agree. Yep. I agree. Now, that being said, I do want to guard people a little bit. Just because it's significantly better than last year doesn't mean the Broncos are going to have a better haul than last year as well.
Yeah.
The draft is hard. It's hard to predict. And the Broncos voted on based on the from the other teams, the best draft last season. Even though it's better, it does not mean that the Broncos are going to hit as well. There's a lot of luck involved. I mean, you can look at Kansas City, for example. They had multiple years of terrible drafting. And then last year, boom, Nick Bolton, incredible for them. Creed Humphrey, incredible for them. Trey Smith, incredible for them. The Saints, they had a second dynasty off of that 2000 and not dynasty, but a second awakening with Drew Brees there at the end with that draft that had Trey Hendrickson, Marcus Williams, Marshawn Lattimore, and somebody else as well. So just because the Broncos drafted incredibly last year doesn't mean it's going to be as good again this year, despite that draft. But did you see me fist bump when he was talking? Because did you see the 3 positions he listed?
Yeah. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Edge rusher, offensive tackle. Didn't mention linebackers, didn't mention running backs, didn't mention tight ends because those aren't the value positions. Also, he used edge rusher. God bless you, George Payton. You're a man of the people.
And he also said, talking about deep places, to me, that gives you a hint of where he's looking to, because I think it's a pretty deep wide receiver class.
Yeah.
Also, but he didn't say wide receiver. Again, it's pretty deep in the positions we'll be looking. And the other one, if I had time, or if I had, a giant production company and a PA, remember when we said, oh yeah, he's due to meet the press and someone will ask him about Baron Browning. And I said, I can tell you exactly what he's going to say right now. You don't have to wait for it. Man, it was almost word for word. If I had a PA, I'd say, let's get me talking and then him talking and then me sitting there going, see, because all he said was, it's an experiment. We're going to give it a look, try and get our best players on the field. We'll see how it goes. That's all. That's all. Don't read too much into it. Oh, I hate the move. He shouldn't be moved. He's being moved. No, he's not. It's just chatter. It's just chatter right now. So I'm a big fan of this guy. I really, really am.
Yeah, he's cool. Let's say hello to Jesse Fraley coming in here. Good morning, y'all. Cute dog, Jesse. We're here for the dogs. Scott and I are both big dog lovers. Rob coming in, favorite MHH team.
I like little dogs.
I like all dogs. My parents have a West Highland Terrier named Mika, who I adore. Very, very sweet dog.
There was a funny slideshow meme that was titled the world's most dangerous dog breeds, and it started at 10, and each time it was a new word. Every time you slide and show a different picture of a dog. There's no such thing as a dangerous dog. Chihuahua. And then it got to 1 and it said Chihuahua.
God, they scare me. Very, very personal dogs. Those Chihuahuas. Speaking of Chihuahuas, Jamal. No, what does that mean? I'm just kidding, Jamal. Good morning, Broncos country. Good to see you. Jamal's always killing it. Jamal has a great smile, man. It's good to see you always. Casey coming in. Best start to my day. Let's go. We got Stone Cold Tim. Morning, fellas. What's up, Broncos country? Ashton's in the house. Yo, what's up, good friends? Not too much. Jeremy's in the house. Sup, guys? Awesome to see you, Jeremy. And we got our first super chat coming in here over on YouTube from Mike556. That is a name I feel like I haven't seen in a while. It sounds familiar. So, Mike, welcome back, I believe. Good to see you. Mike says, I like D'Angelo.
What is that? I can't tell what that is.
The picture?
Yeah.
It's somebody with a hat.
It looks like a giant bird head.
No, it looks like it's somebody's girlfriend with a hat there. So I zoomed in. It looks like they're at the game or tailgating. So it's not a giant bird head.
Yeah, it looks like a cartoon, like a mascot head that someone has on, and it's facing the other direction with blue hair on the back. I can't. Never mind. Who cares? Scott, drink your coffee.
Okay, Mike coming in. I like D'Angelo Malone and Sam Williams and Zach Tom or Max Mitchell, maybe Velus Jones. I can't get Marcus Jones. Okay, lot going on here. A lot of names to toss out. D'Angelo Malone, edge rusher, Western Kentucky. I believe I get the Western Kentucky and the Miami, Ohio guy mixed up. D'Angelo Malone, though, off the top of my head, that's Western Kentucky. I've watched him. He looks very good. I think he would be a very good player there in round 4. Definitely a rotational edge 3. The Broncos need a young, cost-controlled edge rusher. Sam Williams, I like a lot. The talent is obvious. His motor does run hot and cold, but he's explosive. He's got heavy hands. And the big thing with him is he has a battery case that was dropped. Teams are going to have to dig into it. Zach Tom, Wake Forest, played tackle. A lot of people think he's going to end up at center. His pass protection is very calm and smooth. I think he's going to be a good zone player. If he's there round 4, I think Scott and I talked about him a couple times in a couple mocks we've done. Eventually, Zach Tom is going to end up with one of our picks because he's a good scheme fit and the tackle to center versatility I think is very good. If you're not a obvious god level player at tackle, you need to be versatile on the offensive line because you need multiple avenues to contribute to the offensive line, multiple ways to get on the field. I think Zach Tom has that. Max Mitchell fell a bit. A lot of people thought he was going to be a round 3 player. He didn't test well. He had an up and down Senior Bowl. He's probably going to be there round 4, round 5. Scott might even take him a little later. I'm not sure where we're going from Velus Jones to Marcus Jones. I guess maybe it's the kick returner aspect. I like Velus Jones a lot. My big issue with Velus Jones is that he is going to be 25 years old for a wide receiver.
Is he that old?
He is that
old.
old.
I know he bounced around some. I wasn't sure if he was that old.
Yeah, he's 25 years old. So that is one where you might be able to get him round 5 and use him on that rookie contract, but it didn't stop Calvin Ridley from being picked early, but maybe that's not the best process for a position like wide receiver where typically once they hit 30 years old, they fall off. So
yeah, your one contract on that, if it's a 6th or 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, fine. That's that's like striking gold with an undrafted free agent. That's okay with me for sure. If he can play, he can play. I'll bring him in for 5 years, definitely.
Yeah. And Marcus Jones, I like a lot. Good nickel player. He has a couple things going against him, though, that might make him fall to rounds 5, 6, 7. He has historically small arm length. Him, Roger McCreary, and Avery Williamson, name Scott should know, have the shortest arms ever measured for a cornerback since 1999 at the NFL Combine, which is something that there is some data to that arm length does matter at the cornerback position to a certain extent. That's not the longer the better, but you can be too short, and he has extremely short arm lengths. The other thing with Marcus Jones is that he has had multiple shoulder injuries that could be an issue for him that I've heard long-term that could drop him as well. So
there is a squirrel sitting outside chewing up my window pane, and he's been doing it for a while. And
get the dog there.
The cat helps. The cat helps, but I shut the door. I'm getting to the point now. It's all I can do not to grab my 380. As big of an animal lover as I am, I'm getting frustrated here. It's a little distracting too. I love D'Angelo Malone. I need to look up when and if he's had his pro day because he had some bounce to his step that I really liked, and I thought he flashed at the Senior Bowl. And he measured about 6'3", 245. Zach Tom, that's a good call. I haven't watched him. I just saw his measurables, and I went immediately to see where he was ranked at interior offensive line. Like, that ain't a tackle. It's 6'4", 300 pounds. But his agility stuff is awesome. That's absolutely a center. NFL Mock Drop Database has him late now, so he probably won't fall that low. And Mike coming in, he said, I agree with your round grades. That's what I think. Well, thanks, Mike. You don't have to agree with this, but, thanks. Don't expect you to. And Stone Cold coming on Twitch saying that we definitely, unquestionably, he sent me this privately, put on the best Mile High Huddle morning show. So thank you. We appreciate the support on Twitch. Stone Cold Tim, definitely. I need to start bring up Steve Austin's walk-up music whenever we play one of his chats.
That would be good. We also got Steve. Shout out to Steve. Congrats to you, buddy, on the engagement once again.
Right.
Big time there. And also I like the New Jersey that you have there with the Russell Wilson picture. I'm glad it's not Drew Lock as my quarterback anymore. We can all move on together. Thank God. Vin59. Good morning, y'all. Do you guys?
One more. I want to bounce you on here because I want to get to Nick. He's been waiting patiently.
Yeah.
Nick came in, and it feels like a newer name for me. Nick Lujan. Lujan. That's a different spelling. I'm not sure where you're from. For a last name like that, that's kind of cool. Says, good morning, Broncos country. Who is in the running for owners? Let's go get McCaffrey. Let's ride. McCaffrey, I think, is going to be a little out of your price range for what you want.
Yeah.
Unless you're willing, the Panthers are willing to send him for a 7th and take 75% of his contract again. Even that might be tight. Yeah, 75% to do. You want to eat 75% of his contract? We'll do the Teddy Bridgewater deal again. Send him on over. Might be nice. Ownership, it's been so quiet, and even Peyton was asked about ownership a little bit, and he goes, we've been busy with the draft, hiring my coach, getting our franchise quarterback with free agency. We haven't given it much thought. And I don't even know everybody's names. The people above him take care of that. So I don't think there's been a lot of news lately on that.
Yeah, I don't think there has been much either. But the McCaffrey stuff, he's a highly paid running back who's been injured a lot the last few years. When he's been on the field, he's been great. But I think the Panthers were looking for a first-round pick for him. You don't have one until 2024. And you're paying him for probably what's likely down production compared to what he's been so far in his career. So I'm very skeptical of bringing in big name running backs. I mean, how many times does it actually work out where they're better in that second contract? Very rarely. And I know that we can point out some outliers where that has happened, but typically you see guys like Le'Veon Ball fall off a cliff. You see guys like Ezekiel Elliott when they get paid big contracts to the point where the Cowboys are having to move on from Amari Cooper and Lael Collins and can't pay as much for Randy Gregory because they're paying a big running back who might be the second best running back on their roster now. I'm always highly trepidatious of paying running backs. I think it's draft in day 2 of the draft, use the absolute heck out of them, and then let them walk. Unless you can get a guy on a short, like 1-year contract kind of thing where you have some flexibility, that's fine. But paying him big guaranteed money long term, it's against my ethos. It's against my very core values as a football analyst. And I don't hate running backs personally, but I don't value them. Don't value them.
And Mike, coming back to this,
make it full screen, Scott. You can see your wife does not look like a bird.
No, I see it. Okay, now I got it. I have to squint in real tight. The very top of the logo, right across the top, looks like eyes, and then the bill of the cap again, I'm looking at something that's this big, and I'm nearsighted. So, and I actually told my son, I'm like, you know how this was last week. I'm actually getting flushed now. I'm embarrassed. I said, you know how like when you flash on something, your brain kind of decides what it is before you really see. When you get older and your eyes go, some really weird things start to happen. I'm like, oh, that's a never mind. Like I said, drink your coffee, Scott. I apologize, Mike. I can't see it. It's with the head down like that. I couldn't see it very well. I was like, what is that? Oh, it's pretty obvious what that is now. She's got her head down a little bit and wearing a hat.
She's got a great smile and beautiful eyes there, Mike. So good for you.
I can't even see below. I can't see any of the face, just the hat. That's all I can see on this vision because it's way over there. So
it's all good.
I didn't mean
we got some.
I just couldn't tell what it was.
Smack my head. There we go. Come on, Scott.
For sure. I'm gonna have to wipe my forehead now. I'm breaking out in a sweat. I'm so embarrassed.
No, it's all good. We got Kathy's in the house. Hello, guys and girls in Broncos country. Trade up for a Jabbo to like 50. I wouldn't trade up for him because you're not going to get year 1 of production probably from him, most likely. That said, if he falls to 64 for sure, I think he could fall from 50 to 75. So if he's there at 64, I have no issue with it at all. So that would be great. We got a question here from Vin. Do you guys know why Denver went with Billy Turner instead of Snell? They brought in both for visits. I think that Billy Turner is set or coming off arthroscopic knee surgery. So don't quote me on that. I thought I read that. I'm like, oh, that's news to me. So they must have thought that with that news that Billy Turner's knee was okay, and the familiarity and love of Nathaniel Hackett for Billy Turner and Justin Outen won over Butch Berry, or excuse me, not Butch Berry, Russell Wilson and any connection they had with Brandon Shell. So they thought Billy Turner instead. That's fine. I got no issue with it at all. I think Turner also offers more versatility, which again, you guys know, I think versatility, unless you're a god level offensive tackle, you need to be versatile. And that's what Billy Turner brings.
And see Patrick Havener, another silent support coming in. Appreciate you. And then I'm getting some good advice on how to take care of the squirrel. Just feed them. Yeah. It's not like they're going anywhere. I live between the squirrel and the deer. Of course, you know what else I had out here this morning when I pulled back in after taking my my daughter to school was a Cooper's hawk that was about that big sitting in my driveway, just off the side of my driveway. They'll take care of the squirrel problem if I've got one. Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate you.
I love birds of prey. So cool. Bama X is in the house. Good morning, Broncos country. We got Wade saying he likes the Maryland tight end. I have not watched much of Okonkwo, I believe is the name. Yeah, he's a spread tight end, but I think he can be developed into a better blocker. So he's definitely interesting. I thought he tested solid from what I recall. There's some good tight ends in the
size. There's your H-back type again.
Yeah.
6'2.5", 238, 4'5'2", 35-inch vertical. Why didn't that kid a linebacker?
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's changing though. I mean, I bet you if I looked up from him, he's not from the Southeast. I bet you money that he's not from the Southeast. If he was from the Southeast, he'd be a linebacker.
Yeah, he tested well though. Good 40-yard dash, good speed, a little bit smaller H-back definitely on that role. I like I said, the guy that I keep coming back to is Daniel Bellinger from South Dakota State. I really like his tape, 6'5", 255-ish, I believe, and tested pretty well, but he's one that gets after it as a run blocker. And I think he's got a little bit of F and what's the other position? Flex F and Y tight end versatility. So,
Boy, I missed that one. Powder Springs, Georgia.
all right, well, sometimes that happens. Trevor Sandel, good morning, fellows of the Broncos. Wyatt Horny, good morning, gents. We got Monica coming in saying, what a bummer, made me sad to see the stadium seats burn. What a tragedy. Who is a front-running candidate for purchasing the Broncos? That's been very seemingly undercover, and also that's not my expertise, the business side of things for the Broncos, so I couldn't tell you who the leading candidate is for the Broncos, but it sounds like there's more than 4 options, but less than 15, I think is what Mike Kliss said. Okay, well, thanks for the info, Mike. Who knows? That's what I got from that one, but we'll see. The thing that made me a little bit cautious was Joe Ellis. The interview with him said that we possibly could have a new owner in place by week 1 next year. What? I thought this was supposed to be taken care of.
Supposed to be done by then. You were hoping it'd be done by then.
Yes.
Don't know. And I saw someone else comment, Monica, on the tragedy. Tragedy does feel a little strong for me on that one.
Nobody died.
I'm glad no one was hurt and that type of stuff. It's there's nostalgia in there, not quite like our community member who lost a house of sorts or a room that had a bunch of his stuff in. That's a little scary. Good morning, Michael Ranquillo. Good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for Breakfast, showing some love from YouTube. Very cool, very cool. And speaking of showing some love on YouTube, we'll get to Jason Hanks, and then I'm seeing red here, Nick. I'm seeing red.
I'm seeing a little bit of pink. Also,
it's a fuchsia. It's a fuchsia. It's close enough that I'm going red on this one. So do we go for another running back in the draft, or are we trying at Gordon? We'll see. George Payton, by talking up Kareem Jackson and Melvin Gordon, at the very least, keeps their name in the news. It's doing them a solid. It's keeping them, they could be an option. So when they're negotiating and maybe we want this guy to say, well, we've got an offer from the Broncos. They might not, but it's helping them even if in their life past Denver Broncos, if they don't want him back. We're saying we're leaving the door open. We're working on it. That helps them, even if they don't want him. So at the very least, that's what you can read into that. And maybe they do. Gordon could come back on a cheap deal. Yes, absolutely. If he takes 30% of the carry of the touches from the running back position, I think that'd be a nice slide, because you've got a number one, and it was about a 50-50 split last year. Now you want that number to go to about 65 to 70% Javonte Williams. Yeah. But you can also absolutely 4th, 5th, 6th round go get a running back that can be the number 3 guy, and you got Mike Boone, and this guy can be special teams. Find somebody that can be a returner that can help in several ways. So you've got several options there.
Yeah, I definitely think running back is possible. They could bring back Melvin Gordon. I think Melvin Gordon is holding out for a better deal, but it could be some. Yeah, which he should.
His last one.
Probably. Yeah, God bless him. No issue with that. Definitely possible they could draft a running back and picking at 64. Honestly, they could pick a running back anywhere in the draft, and I wouldn't have too much issues with it. You have holes on this team depth-wise, but let's say Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall falls to 64, and they're your best player available. I love Javonte Williams, but I also think that having 2 running backs that are so effective, young, cost-controlled guys, and so impactful that if you play 6 men in the box, or you're playing match quarters or cover 2 with 2 safeties back every time, guess what? We are going to kill you with our running backs, and we have 2 of them now that we like. And I know that a lot of people really want the dichotomized running back rooms. I personally don't really care about the dichotomized running back room. I'm not.
All right, for us that went to public schools, Nick.
Okay, running back rooms that have very specific and differential skill sets.
Okay, so you've got diversity in your skill sets.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking for there. I'm not looking for there. I don't really care. I want my running backs to be, if every single one of them could be 6 foot to 6'2", 220 pounds, and can pass block and run strong between the tackles, that's enough for me. I think we have a lot of data now in the football world, where if you're utilizing a running back in the pass game, it's typically way less effective and impactful than using a wide receiver. So what's the most impactful thing I can do with my running back in the pass game? They need to be a threat where opposing teams are buying play action, and they need to be able to pass protect. I don't give a hoot about them being able to flex out and be in the pass game. Honestly, if they can do that, that's great. I don't care. So I'm looking for, if I can get Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall here to complement Javonte Williams, even though they're not the jackknife, James White type that some people want, I don't care because if I lose Javonte Williams, I don't want my whole offense submarining because I don't have an effective guy who can play that same role.
Big, fast, and strong fits in any scheme.
Yep.
It just does. Remember the old run and shoot days, Nick? That might have been before your time.
I know of them.
Most of it's run and shoot now. Four wide, single back, no tight ends, no fullbacks, run and shoot. That's pretty common these days. But talk about, okay, we want a Barry Sanders type back there. Well, Craig Ironhead Hayward ran for about 1,300 yards in the run and shoot because he could break tackles. Again, going back to that cycle of as more passing comes in and the defenses get smaller and faster, going with a bigger running back. Big, strong, and fast plays everywhere. Could you get Melvin Gordon? Yes, there will be someone coming in, not necessarily back. Melvin Gordon, draft pick. I could see Gordon getting something like a 2-year, $8 million deal with 4 guaranteed. That's a 1-year deal. That becomes a 1-year deal with a $4 million, $2 million cap hit, whatever. It'd be a lower cap hit. It ends up becoming a 1-year deal.
Yep.
DWI guys coming in with the fuchsia. With Peyton wanting 10 draft picks every year, he'll have his work cut out next year as they only have a 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th. Only have 4. When he says have 10, again, doesn't necessarily mean he wants to make 10 draft picks. So he can, as he said, we could move up. We could package them together and move up in the draft. Those are all options. But yeah, there's you're running a little short on draft capital next year. But are there any comp picks possible in there, Nick? I don't think so. And then you could move down, trade a 5th for 2-6 next year or whatever. Yeah. I don't think. I take that with a grain of salt. I'd like to have the number 1 pick every year just because it's gifted to me. He's not going to have 10 every year. He said 9. Tankathon shows 8. I'm going to believe the general manager right now.
Yeah. We'll see what's up with the picks when he keeps referencing 9. But I think you do see the Broncos do some movement this season where they're trading back and trading around and adding some additional 2023 capital. Also, I could see the Broncos last year, they traded for Stephen Weatherly. They traded for Kenny Young, giving up some future draft capital, late round picks. And I could see the Broncos doing some of that with some of their depth in this cycle as well. They fill out the roster so well. Maybe there's somebody on the back end of their roster that they can move for let's say Jamar Johnson falls out of favor, but he's still got some value out there. You get a 2024 6th round pick for him, and that helps you in the future as well. So some of those kind of moves for those depth players, maybe the Broncos are going to be on the other end where the roster is more filled out so they can live to move on from some of those guys as well. But thank you so much, Ethan, for the $50 super. That means a lot to us.
Very generous, of course. And more generosity from Mark Schrader. He says, you see some teams paying big money for a running back 2nd contract, which that makes Nick cringe. I actually saw an involuntary twitch out of Nick even just saying big money for running back 2nd contract. Yeah. I think what Denver did with Gordon was great. He was very productive, minus the fumbles, but just 2 years. Again, coming into this from the outside last year, there was some gnashing of teeth about the contract that Melvin Gordon was on. But my question back to those that were complaining is what did that contract prevent you from doing? Because you still had money. You still had plenty of money to go out and get guys if you thought they could help. Melvin Gordon's contract was not prohibitive in any way. You might have thought he was overpaid, but he wasn't hurting the team. If you've got Christian McCaffrey's contract right now is hurting the Carolina Panthers. Zeke Elliott's contract is prohibiting the Dallas Cowboys. Melvin Gordon's contract may have been high, but it wasn't hurting the Denver Broncos. It didn't prevent them from making any other moves. So I think it was a decent deal. And, I think his ceiling right now is somebody brings him in on a 1-year, $6 million. I think that would be the best first-year option he could possibly get. Maybe he wants to come back at 4 or like I said, you give him a $2 million base, guarantee him $4 million, and then your cap hit spread across 2 years is pretty low, and it becomes a 1-year deal with a lower cap hit for this year. So you can still have flexibility this year if your window opens a little wider as you get closer to playoffs and stuff. You can do a Von Miller type deal where maybe the other team doesn't pay all his contracts.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. I think I agree with you, Mark. The only thing was the fumbles there, but I didn't like the deal when they first announced it, Melvin Gordon, because I'm like, here comes a 5-year contract for a running back on a second deal. This is gonna probably end horribly. But once it was 2 years, I was like, okay, the guarantees are high, but I get it. The Broncos were John Elway specifically was using that offseason to do everything he possibly could to set up Drew Lock to get as good of evaluation on Drew Lock as possible. And the sick bug happened and everything. You could never get a totally clean evaluation, but you made Graham Glasgow a top 10 paid interior offensive lineman. You brought in a top 10 running back in Melvin Gordon, top 15 running back in Melvin Gordon.
Number 1.
Drafted wide receiver number 2 also. So that was a big one that, and I think it's Joe Marino on the Draft Network. He's used this before. It's called isolating the variable. You surround the quarterback with as much talent as possible, offensive line, running back, wide receiver, blah, blah, blah. So that way, if the quarterback fails, it's because the quarterback. And you're kind of seeing that maybe with Tua this season as well with the Dolphins. If Tua is not good this year, you've isolated the variable. It's probably because he's not very good. So
or the scheme sucked. So it was we don't have to rehash all that. There's a
lot of reasons.
We haven't isolated the variable completely, but we've narrowed it down a lot.
Yeah. And that's all you just want to limit the excuses, put it on the quarterbacks. That way you can be as thorough as possible with the evaluation. Lawrence Rivera saying, hey guys, good morning. Facebook keeps notifying me 18. I don't know what the 18 is. Late. Okay.
Late.
I see Peyton Manning on the brain there. Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know why it's notifying you late, but we're glad to have you now, Lawrence. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Also, I'm laughing at all the this is from earlier, but smack my head. We needed that's the catchphrase of the show. Smack my head. Time for glasses. Also, there we go from Clee. Clee, good to see you. We got Marty coming in here. There's the glasses. There you go. Those are good.
Yeah,
nice
I didn't start wearing glasses until I was 35. It was right around like February 10th, 2 years in a row, where I was like, man, I'm always tired. Your eyes are a little blurry when you're tired.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm not tired. I just can't see. All right, let's go get some glasses. It was right after signing day, 2 years in a row. I went and I was like blinking my eyes, and I'm like, wait a minute. When did I go to the eye doctor last time? And it was almost a year to the day. It was freaky. Staring at these screens all the time. Not so good for your eyes when you're not, 11 years old. Like my kids staring at them too long, especially a baseball player and a softball player. I'm like, would you please take care of your eyes? I sound like an old guy. I know.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you look great for 82. Marty Rivera coming in. Hey, I was just wondering, would it be smart to draft another wide receiver considering we already have Sutton, Jerry, Hamler, and Tim Patrick? I think this is one where your evaluation of a specific wide receiver is going to be the most important thing. And we've seen it this season. The wide receiver market is going absolutely bleeping bonkers. With Christian Kirk, you can blame the Panthers, or not the Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I guess. But DJ Moore got a massive extension
Panthers anyway.
Yeah, but the Panthers too. But they just paid DJ Moore huge money. You saw 2 wide receivers get traded because their teams didn't think it was palatable to pay them on top of it. So this says to me that if you see a wide receiver that you like that you can get on a rookie contract, that's going to be a huge value going forward. And wide receiver, you're going to see 4 or 5 guys typically over a season anyways. So you have questions about Hamler, Jerry after this season. Honest to God, if he wanted to, if he had a great season this year, he could hold out for a new contract because he'd be 3 years out from the draft. So that's something to consider as well. So if there's a wide receiver you like in this draft, given where the market is going right now, yes, don't overthink it. That's a value position. You need valuable players.
Well, and think about it. What you just said was if Jerry Jeudy has a big year this year, what does that become? That becomes a tradable asset for a nice return. Now Jerry Judy's not Tyreek Hill, but if you could get a couple of first-round draft picks for Jerry Jeudy and you got a good replacement. So again, as Nick said, Marty, it comes down to, do you love a guy that maybe fall in your lap? We had a comment after last week's mock draft says Christian Watson's not going to be there. And why would you take a wide receiver anyway? I'm like, well, your first question answered your second one because he was there. If you find Christian Watson available I think it was like the 4th, dude. It was late. It was like our 90th pick or something. Yeah. Snag him. Yeah. You're gonna take him, of course. So if you've got a guy that you love like that, you don't pass that up just because it's not a need. You take the bet. That's when you say absolutely best player available for sure. And like I said, I cringe at that, but I'm talking about on your board as a prospect. If you love a guy and he's there, take him. You won't regret it. You will not regret taking a player you love if he turns out to be good, no matter how many wide receivers you get. And then you've got capital. A really good wide receiver could fetch you another first-round pick. At least one these days.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about getting 2023 draft capital, that's definitely an avenue. And if Judy's going to get paid, who knows? I mean, it's something to think about, for sure. And again, it's a value position. There's no such thing as having too many wide receivers, no such thing as having too many cornerbacks, there's no such thing as having too many edge rushers, especially young ones on cost-controlled contracts. A lot of value there. So don't overthink it. You're getting a surplus value on that end. And you don't have to force it at pick 64, but if one is just like, this guy is screaming at you, you should take him. Not overthink it. It's hard enough to hit on draft picks. Don't circumvent players you have graded higher because you feel like it's not an immediate need. Needs change rapidly in the NFL. I mean, 2 years from the no-fly zone, Broncos were like, uh-oh, our cornerbacks are in trouble. Needs change quickly. Get good players at value positions. Tom Sinnott coming in saying, hey, guys, do you think the signing of Wilson Hackett has increased the chance of us United Kingdom fans seeing the Broncos play over here? It does sound like that. It also sounds like the Broncos are really screaming at the NFL saying, please let us play in London. We want to play in London. So hopefully they'll let him have that. That would be great, especially with Russell Wilson coming over, the new brand and everything there with the Broncos. I think that'd be awesome for the league and the Broncos in general. I think it could happen.
I don't know how they pick that, because when you've got, and Tom, if you are a football fan over there, when you've got the New York Jets playing the Atlanta Falcons in what would be a relegation scrap in the Premier League, they're not choosing it based on high-profile games, that's for sure. So there's no flex involved there. So there's got to be some sort of rotation where, I don't know, there's got to be some sort of rotation beyond merit, beyond what makes the best games, because I don't think everybody necessarily wants to go over there. That's how the Detroit Lions get the Thanksgiving game every year. Nobody wanted to play on Thanksgiving. Detroit stepped up. Way back in the day, the Lions stepped up and said, okay, we'll do it. And the NFL has been rewarding them ever since. Great. I think that's awesome. You know, I think that is, I want Detroit to play on Thanksgiving for as long as they want to for the rest of NFL history, just because of that, because they stepped up when other people didn't want to. A lot of teams don't want to go over to London anymore. It's not a fun trip. It's not a bowl trip. It's a business trip with a crap travel, especially when everything's been locked down the last 2 years. So I don't know how they do it. I don't know if Wilson affects that at all, because again, New York Jets, Atlanta Falcons. Ugh. What an awful game. What an awful football game over there in Spurs Stadium in London.
Yeah, and we got Andrew coming in too. Morning to two of my favorite hosts.
Thank you,
with
Andrew.
The Stars. Thank you, Andrew. How do you feel Ojabo is going to fall after his horrible injury, and should Denver grab him somehow when they pick? If he's there at 64 and their medical team says, yeah, he might miss this season, but he's going to be fine with no long-term structural damage, then absolutely. We saw that it was Cam Akers suffered an Achilles in preseason and came back for the end of the regular season this year. Absolutely insane. You know, God bless science and medical miracles where we're getting right now, and history of humankind is that's incredible. He suffered an Achilles injury and came back in the same season and played and looked effective. What the actual hell is going on?
And it's also, I've referred to, because I've heard doctors talk about, you know, doing surgery on these guys, and the muscle tissue and the density and everything is just different. I'm like, so I refer to players, these NFL guys, they're just different caliber of human beings. So there is science, and then there's this genetics that are just beyond the everyday human being that makes them who they are in the NFL. So as Nick is saying, there's very different caliber of Achilles injuries. There's partial tears, there's ruptures. And I don't know have you seen anything, Nick? Did you see how bad it is or anything along those lines?
I haven't seen anything. I'm guessing that there's going to be right up against the draft. He will go somewhere for a medical recheck. That way teams will have the most updated information.
So an Achilles injury, a partial tear is what it sounds like. A rupture, think of a frayed rope, is what it looks like. So it's not just like a nice broken bone. Some of the easiest injuries in the world these days are a broken bone. Put a cast on it, 6 weeks, you're back. But a ruptured Achilles is, think of a rope coming apart and fraying both sides and then trying to mend that back together. That's what a rupture is. And that's 18 months before you're 100%. That's really a longer time. A partial tear, and we'll have to see what that was on him, but it can be, there's very different levels of Achilles injuries, even if it sounds the same.
Yeah. No,
thank you for the stars, Andrew. And Peter coming in. Good morning, Peter. So I wonder where AJ goes. Interesting that of all the inside linebackers the Broncos use, he's the only one that didn't sign. I also think he's the one that needs to maximize his last contract the most. So coming into the offseason, we said, okay, who's going to come back? Josie Jewell has a better chance of coming back than AJ because AJ is going to want to maximize. He's going to, and he needs to. He was late to the game. He's a little bit older. He is going to look for the highest payday to take care of the rest of his future. This could be it for him. So I'm not surprised that him or Melvin Gordon are taking a little bit longer, or Kareem Jackson. What do those three guys have in common? I think they're all over 30, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the common denominator there for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good comment. I think that is Kenny Young signed? I don't remember him unless that just happened.
I haven't heard that, but that doesn't mean no.
Yeah, Kenny Young. Haven't seen anything on him, so yeah, I don't know. I guess he's still out there too. I'm honestly at this point, if the Broncos are thinking about using Baron Browning more as a pass rusher this season, and they want to bring some depth back, why not bring back Alexander Johnson for a cheap contract? He's not going to cost you anything comp pick wise. And guess what? If he's healthy this year and has a good year, you can set yourself up to get comp picks in 2024. So I think if you can get him in for a 1-year deal and help, further solidify that linebacker spot and give yourself more rotational bodies, then I have no issue with it. I think when they went with Alex Singleton, maybe that was the sign that we're going in a different direction. Maybe they thought more so with they preferred Alex Singleton's special teams ability compared to Alexander Johnson. But interesting thought there. I'm curious what happens with Alexander Johnson. But it is kind of,
guys are going to test the market and let it ride as long as they possibly can before they sign. And if they don't get the deal they want, then they sign a discounted deal for a place they're comfortable.
Yep.
Could be back in the South. Like I think Alexander Johnson played at Tennessee.
Yep.
Comes back. You read he ends up signing with the Tennessee Titans on a 1-year deal at a quarter of what he was making the year before. Or he comes back to the Denver Broncos because that makes sense. That's where he's been living and he's got a house there. So guys over 30 they're gonna try and get the best deal they can. And God bless them for it. They need to.
100%. Jacob Foster coming back in with the Stars. Good to see you, Jacob. We got Benjamin Flores saying morning, y'all. We got CC's in the house, mid receiver, sign me up. Lawrence Rivera coming in too with the Stars. It's kind of funny how the contracts actually lined up with certain groups that year. Like 1 year it's quarterbacks, and next year it's running backs, and next year it's wide receiver. They usually have their year. So he's saying that when they get paid, typically you do see a cascade effect where like one position resets it, and then everybody's trying to catch up with that. And
and again, if you see, and it takes. This is why we came last night, and I'm just typing away, pissed off last night in the comments about. Seems like people are mad at the Cleveland Browns for what they did with Deshaun Watson. I'm like, folks, it has absolutely nothing to do with what Deshaun Watson did or did not do. That's just an excuse. What it has to do is they paid him the biggest guaranteed contract in history. And the NFL owners are pissed. Why do you think they have a salary cap? They have a salary cap because they can't control themselves. So by setting that precedent, the rest of the NFL owners just went, smack my head, is what they did. They said, why are you doing that to us? We like the fact that we can promise these guys everything and give them nothing. Yeah. That's why they're pissed off at the Cleveland Browns, because they don't want guaranteed contracts. Why would you? When I'm running a monopoly, why would I want to guarantee a contract if I don't have to? I'll pay you, and if you're not cut, I'll cut you. Forget that there's another 4 years on your deal. That's why they're pissed. So going back to that, it's usually one contract. That's what made me think of this. It's that sets that off again. So Christian Kirk comes out 4 years, $84 million. And Devontae Adams goes, what? Tyreek Hill goes, what? And it resets the market like that. So all it takes is one more. So the next time the quarterbacks come up, they're looking at Deshaun Watson, and the owners are going, damn it, Cleveland. So it doesn't have anything to do with that other stuff. It has something to – what does it always have to do with, Nick?
In the end, money.
The money.
Yep. Money and power. I always think of House of Cards when we talk about that. Kaylee on Green. Yo, what's up? We got Chris Hernandez, too. Good morning to you, Chris.
Stars. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much, Chris. And we got to talk about our actual topic coming in here.
What it was.
We're talking about Broncos that are set up based on free agency so far. Broncos from 2021 that are set up to have bigger roles in 2022. And I did an article this week where I touched on 8 players that I think are set up to have very good, bigger roles this season as it stands right now. And the first guy, so Scott, I guess we'll go back and forth and I can tell you if they're on my article or not. First guy that I mentioned with a bigger role this season, and some of these are pretty obvious, but it's because the Broncos didn't make big moves at the position also. But Abado Koibanam, excuse me, it's the first player I wrote down. Right now, the Broncos have brought in Eric Tomlinson, who is essentially a offensive tackle. I think he's probably pushing 275, 280 there as a tight end from Baltimore. And Albert Okwuegbunam, he's going to have to work on his route running. He doesn't do the best job of changing direction because he plays a little bit too high when he's running his routes, and he doesn't create violent movements when he's starting and stopping. But 6'5", 260, 4'5", 40 guy, has the body type where you think he can be a better blocker. I'm really curious to see what he looks like this year, but he has a chance to have a much bigger role in this offense going forward. Blocking number one, got to block better, buddy. But that's a big one for me.
Yeah, for sure. With him coming in, you don't get rid of Noah Fant if you don't have belief in Okwuegbunam. You make him, you send him Okwuegbunam and then throw in maybe another seventh pick or a sweetener in the deal. But they felt good enough about Okwuegbunam that you can ditch Noah Fant. Poor choice of words, I know. So that's definitely a good shout. You can go with all the receivers, Nick. Who's the one that's really gonna step up? Cortland Sutton was that guy. He should be back 100% to the levels he was as a receiver before he hurt his knee, which was a 1,200 second year, right? 1,200 yards, maybe 9 touchdowns, somewhere in that neighborhood for a second year guy. Cortland Sutton might be my pick for you can't say what do they call it when someone gets injured? It's not a comeback player of the year type. Not necessarily a comeback because he was back last year, but I think he should have the biggest leap of the wide receivers.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. Mac85 City coming in saying, "Morning, guys. I'm finally catching a live show. It's been a minute. Good to see you. I listen to Spotify after every day. That's good to hear. I mean, that's the nice thing about the live stream and the podcast is that it's on your time. It's always great if you guys can join us live to contribute to the community and engage with us, but it's not always possible. So that's totally fine. We also got Todd coming in. Morning, Char coming in. Mile High Huddle lady saying, and she's got her, it looks like her Mile High Huddle shirt as well. Saying, good morning, guys. When is the new season schedule is getting unveiled? It won't be until, I think, May when the season schedule is announced. So it's going to be after the draft. But it's coming, man. That's not too long. So definitely excited about that. My next guy, you're talking wide receivers here that have a chance to have a bigger impact this season. I'm excited to see what KJ Hamler can do. I know the injuries are a big issue for him, but I'm looking for what has worked with Russell Wilson in the past. KJ Hamler, one of my favorite comparisons for KJ Hamler coming out of the draft was Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett has been incredible with Russell Wilson there in Seattle. And now you have a guy that the slot position, you want some down the field speed, slot fades, busting seams. KJ Hamler is probably the only guy who can do that on this offense at a plus rate. I think Jerry Jeudy can too, but not as much. So KJ Hamler, if he can be healthy, I think he has a chance to really climb the season and be an impactful player. I know if he's healthy, that's a big asterisk, but he's really fun, dynamic, and I think he has a chance to have a massive role in this offense this season.
All right. So on the defensive side of the ball, did you lead with the edge? Because Nick said this is what we're going to talk about. I said, let's surprise me. I want to have a genuine reaction to all these because I don't know. Did you lead with the edge or the defensive back from a more attacking style scheme on who's going to have the breakout? Because you could go Bradley Chubb in a hurry on this one.
I went with guys who,
or you could say the extra pressure is going to benefit the turnovers in the back.
I didn't go with as many big name players. I went with guys who were kind of not ones who have had big roles before. So a little bit more of the middle back end of the roster who now have a clear pathway to more playing time. So not a Bradley Chubb. I didn't mention any edge rushers.
Okay.
I will say that. So I'll pivot to this one. McTelvin Agim. He is one right now that I think is set up to have a big role on this team because you do not have a 3-4-5 technique. The defensive end in base package right now. It's a one where who's it going to be? Deshaun Williams? No, he doesn't have the body type to play 5 technique, in my opinion. And then after that, I question mark. Who knows? Mike Purcell, DJ Jones. Now it sounds like DJ Jones is going to play nose. Who the bleep is playing 5 technique in 3-4 base? I guess it's McTelvin Agim. We saw him there a little bit last season when you had some injuries with Draymond Jones, and I think Shelby Harris was dinged a little bit too. But right now, McTelvin Agim is a starter in your base package defense, and that to me says a much bigger role. He's going to have to work on his ability in run defense. I think right now he is it's kind of like the same reason we didn't see Mike Boone last year. The guys in front of him didn't really get injured. If they were injured, we would have seen him. McTelvin Agim is the fill-in for Draymond Jones because he's much more of a pass rusher, not very good in run defense right now. You have to play gap and a half. You have to play 2 gap if you're going to be playing base 3-4 with that scheme last year. He couldn't really hang there. But now if it's a more attacking style scheme, more 7 men in the box kind of filling gaps, I think that fits better with Agim So right now, I think he's set up to be a pretty prominent player in this defense, unless they bring in another rotational defensive veteran player.
It's a fresh start for McTelvin, but the way you just said that to me, it's to all of us, the way you just said it to the pod is, in their base 3-4, he's a starter. That tells me two things. One, they're getting somebody else, or two, they're not going to be in base 3-4 very often because he's not a starter. He hasn't shown it. It's a fresh start for him, but you don't go into the season with McTelvin as your starter. I don't think they trust him there. I don't think he has proven himself there.
Yeah.
And you really can't go into anything you get from him at this point is a bonus because he hasn't shown anything.
Yeah. I will say though, it does line up for him. This is his time because this is year 3. He was drafted 95 overall in a 3-3-5 scheme at Arkansas, where he did not have to take on many double teams, and his pass rushing prowess actually, when he's been on the field, has been pretty good. He's violent and he fights a lot to get after the quarterback. But if you are getting blown off the line of scrimmage in the run game and you can't hang against double teams, you're going to have issues. So there has to be a certain level of run defense that you bring to see the field, and he hasn't brought that to date. But this is a big year for him. Year 3, to having 2 years in the offseason program, changing the body type, adding a little bit more strength and technique, playing lower. It's a big year. I do think that this is a position that, you still have Sheldon Richardson out there. You still have Akeem Hicks out there. You still got Calais Campbell out there. I could see them bring in a vet. But right now, McTelvin is a 3-4 starter in base, in my opinion, and that's a position to watch.
That's a scary thought, honestly.
Yep.
It is. You had to have mentioned Caden Stearns as a guy who lines up as a starting safety right now. I think he showed enough to say, okay, we're ready to heap more on this guy's plate, especially having a full off season to get what you're doing. And then he could be one of those guys, Nick, that gives up plays, but then leads a team in interceptions because he's getting targeted a lot and he's got the ball skills in order to pick it up. You go on to Justin Simmons' side, you go into Patrick Surtain's side, Ronald Darby's over here on this side, or am I going to try and find where Caden Stearns is? Well, I know what I'd probably game plan until he shows me otherwise. So he could have some oh no moments, but he could also end up leading the team in interceptions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, absolutely. I had Caden Stearns on there. I would like the Broncos to bring in another safety for competition there, because I think that you're going to see a lot of 3 safety looks here. And Caden Stearns last year, I thought the more snaps he had, the worse he looked. And this is year 2, so you could see a big year for him. But he's one that scares me a little bit. And he's definitely a starter. I mean, your top 2 safeties are playing 95 to 100% of the snaps. So this is not rotational like the defensive line where you need a bevy of guys. You do want depth there, but a lot of those guys are playing 100% of the snaps. So he's got a big year. Next guy that I have that I'll mention here, and we'll just round out the defensive side of the ball, because it's 6 players that I wrote here. I also mentioned Jamar Johnson when I was talking about Caden Stearns, but I think Jamar Johnson, honorable mention for him. The last defensive player here that I wrote has right now set up for a potentially big role is Jonas Griffith. And this is because I keep getting told from people connected to the organization that they love him internally also, but they love him internally.
Yeah, might love him internally too. We'll just start chipping his name onto some stats. Again, Nick, we're talking about flash plays. His size and speed is different. I mean, he's 6'4", 250 plus, sideline to sideline. He brings a physical ability, and I think we've had this question before. What do you consider upside? Upside is someone that has the physical tools to be better than what they're playing right now. They are bigger and faster than everybody else, but they haven't shown it yet. He's got upside. What other linebacker does? Maybe Baron Browning, but those are the 2 type of guys when you're talking about traits, when you're getting guys later in the draft or for nothing like Jonas Griffith practically. That gamble on that upside, 6'4", 250 plus with speed and attack mode. The mentality. Yes, please. I love this guy. Love him.
Yeah, and again, I keep what are the Broncos going to do at linebacker? Are they evaluating one? They said people connected to the organization or in the organization that I talk with. We're talking about Jonas Griffith here, Jay. Saying you need to keep Jonas Griffith on your mind. He's somebody that is loved and is going to have a chance. And part of the reason I think Baron Browning getting some more versatility as well is because Jonas Griffith is right there breathing down his neck. Some of his reps last year were great, and he's coming from a very small school, Indiana State, the Sycamores, home of Larry Bird also. So that's a very small school football-wise. And just keep an eye on him. I would not be shocked at all if he ended up actually maybe even pushing and passing Baron Browning this season and started at the linebacker spot. There are some people who really like him. So Jacob Foster coming in. We really like Jacob coming in again with the support.
Yeah, Nick flashed that, but I changed it over because I wanted to make sure that we re-identified with Jay's question that we were talking about Jonas Griffith. Big fan. The other guy I was a big fan of last year was Deshaun Williams. Again, high motor guy. Very similar to me to DJ Jones. So but DJ Jones, I think, has a little bit more explosion there, which is why he's got a $10 million a year contract. But guys I like, you're starting to stack the guys you're bringing in or you're keeping. You don't worry about who are they playing for. We saw some guys just kind of going through the motions last year, and attitude reflects leadership, captain, which was a big problem. But again, I like the moves they made, and we talked a lot about being bullied last year. All the guys that are bringing in, you see run blocking, run defense so far is a plus for all of these guys. That's not an accident. And Wyatt Horny coming in with some stars, has a submission also. So Michael Ojemudia is set to have a large role this season. If there are any moves made at cornerback, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him on the field again. Me too. He was looking really well, and that hamstring injury was tough. It really was for him. So hopefully he can play a full year at 100% for the Denver Broncos.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. The last guy here in the article, we kind of touched on it earlier, is Mike Boone. Broncos paid him decent money to come in last year to be the running back 2 behind Melvin Gordon. So they obviously liked him. And then, hey, Javonte Williams, who we evaluate as a first-round caliber running back, is there. Let's go up and get him. So I think that I don't have an issue with paying Boone because it predates trading up for Williams. But now I would say that he is set up to have a bigger role this season. He played in this similar scheme, the outside zone scheme in Minnesota. So he'd make some sense there. I'm expecting Boone to have a good season. They still might want to bring in somebody to compete with him for the running back 2 spot, but right now he's set up to get some touches, and Javonte Williams has never been a bell cow back. Who knows what that looks like? Maybe Boone's going to be more prominently displayed and used than people would think on the surface.
Good question here from Christos Jenkins coming in. I had a chance because I knew I was going to flash it, so I already have my answer, but I'm going to spring this one on you, Nick. What is the weakest position group at the moment for you guys?
The weakest position group at the moment. I'm going to go with the tight end.
That's what I was going with, tight end.
Yeah, tight end. On paper, Andrew Beck is fine. Alberto Cuebanam, upside but unknown. Eric Tomlinson. Not Eric Dickinson. Eric Tomlinson is a fine guy as well, but you don't have a lot of, I would say, difference makers at that position. That said, Russell Wilson doesn't historically really utilize the tight end position so much. They traded for Jimmy Graham, but their offense kind of fell apart when that happened because the offensive line was not so good. So that's one that, while the tight end is the weakest, I don't really care that much that it is the weakest. I'm looking at positions that are going to be more impactful and ones where you're using more depth that's going to be more valuable. Edge rusher, that's the position I would say with the lowest floor right now because the top 2 guys are missing games left and right consistently in their career. And if you go in, let's say at some point, like think about a year ago, the Broncos are going to have a great pass rush. They're going to have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. How long did that last? Not at all. And then we were sitting there, Jonathan Cooper, Stephen Weatherly, and Malik Reed, and it was trash. It was bad from the Broncos there. They were horrible. One of the bottom 2 teams at rushing the passer last season. So that's one where I'm concerned about the edge rush. Can't have enough defensive backs in this division as well. And tackle, you probably need a long-term answer at right tackle. Maybe somebody to push Garrett Bowles to if he regresses this season.
Yeah, Stone Cold Tim came in on Twitch and he said tackle because in my mind I think of the position group of offensive line as one group, and so I didn't push them all together. I mean, otherwise, center. If you wanted to break them out like that, I think you might be a little better off right now until we figure out what we're going to do at center with Glasgow maybe. But individually, I think you could make an argument for really any of the offensive line positions because there's 2. You're okay at left tackle, but right tackle is a question mark. You might be okay at guard, but that wasn't exactly a strength last year, and you're counting on Miners to make a leap up, and center was a bit of a weak spot last year. So we brought in some guys to help address that. And if I needed someone to address something for me, I'd probably go to Ethan. Ethan, can you help me out here? Coming in, the DWI guys with definitely seeing red this time. Was fuchsia last time. So it sure was nice seeing Javonte Adams light catching throws from Russ last night. into the dark, no less. He's my pick for a huge year at wide receiver. Hamler right behind him if he can stay healthy. Pookie will have a huge year from the running back position. Broncos for breakfast. Hashtag the closer. I guess it's about time to get out of here. Now, who was Javonte Adams light? I didn't see it. I didn't see them thrown in the dark.
I think he meant Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams. Okay.
Jerry Judy was working.
And I was thinking Jamal Adams. I'm like, wait a minute, was Justin Simmons out there? So I'm all confused.
No, it was Jerry Judy was working with Russell Wilson. I'm watching trepidatiously of
you whipped out the Oxford Dictionary today, Nick. I do know what that means though.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. Sorry. I'm sitting here wondering what Jerry Judy's going to look like in this offense. I thought it was an easy Devontae Adams 1-for-1 when it was going to be Aaron Rodgers coming in or another running back. But the way Jerry Judy wins is he is a middle of the field merchant. He does a lot of good job working from the slot, getting open on crossing routes, stick routes, dagger routes, et cetera, et cetera. And Russell Wilson historically hasn't really used those routes so much because maybe it's the height, can't see over the offensive linemen as much as other teams. So he's looking for outs and vertical routes outside the hash marks more than almost any other quarterback in football. So I'm sitting here wondering what Jerry Judy is going to be like in this offense, what his usage is going to be and how valuable he'll be compared to Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, where I think historically fit better with the wide receivers that Russell Wilson has used. Now you have the Doug Baldwin one. He's the one where I think is most like Jerry Judy. But again, I'm curious to see what it looks like.
You know where he could have just a monster season is on the broken play. The broken play is no basis for an offense, but they happen.
Yep.
And they happen with guys in the middle of the field coming back to the ball and then having that run after the catch ability, that separation and the instincts that Russell Wilson will extend plays for sure. He'll take some sacks because he's looking to extend plays. He wants to be greedy. Yep. I like greedy in a quarterback. So with
greedy, not
every
stupid.
play that he extends, Judy could be one of your top options there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right there. And sorry, Ethan, you have the $100 here, but you're not the closer because this one came in a little after you.
He's still closing. This is mop up duty now. We closed it. Now he got the save, but we just scored 10 more runs in the ninth. So we're mopping up here, Luke. Appreciate you.
Luke, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for one of our first commenters today, too. Luke, honestly, the opener and the closer, Ethan and Luke coming in. Broncos should look at Tyler Algier from BYU. Yeah, he's a really good running back. He's kind of a bruiser, not explosive by any means, but good running back. I enjoyed watching him last year when I was watching BYU. He did a great job for the Cougars offense. He's fun. If you can take him round 5, I'd be interested. He's got the size that you're looking for that or for the running back position as well. 5'11", 220. That's what I'm looking for right now. That kind of big guy. If teams want to play 6 guys in the box and play too high, guess what? A big running back that is going to make you pay for the lighter boxes where you have to maybe I do have to play cover 3. Maybe I do need to play base. There's value to that. It's a tactical advantage. So he's one that interests me a lot there. I like a lot of running backs kind of in that range. Ty Chandler also is one that interests me. Pierre Strong we talked about earlier. That's a good option as well. So definitely think the Broncos are possible for looking at a bruising style running back, a big body to go with. They have to have some good feet to slash, but definitely interesting.
There's not a lot of those guys out there. Looking through the combine, that the heaviest running backs, they're all 200 to 215 to 220 range. The heaviest one out there, Brian Robinson, Alabama. We know he runs like a grown man. At 225, Hassan Hankins out of Michigan, 228, more of a fullback type, I would think, from him, listed at running back. But you mentioned Keontae Ingram. You mentioned BYU. I already forgot his name because it was Tyler
Algier.
Right?
Yep.
So way down. A lot of running backs at the combine. Tyler came in at 5'11", 224. Again, those are the kind that are usually this big around, and you watch guys slide off if they've got balance. Love guys like that.
Yeah. Definitely an option. No doubt about that. Also, Damian Pierce from Florida. He's like 5'10", 215, which is, the CJ Anderson build of sorts. But all right, guys, we got to get on out of here. We always, we're going to go an hour. Nope. Hour and 15 later. We're still here talking. So we appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Scott's channel. Scott can drop it in the comments here while I round us out. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy, and I am at Nick Kendell MHH. If we didn't get to any questions that you wanted to talk about in today's show, at us, at me. Maybe don't at Scott, because Scott will open up Twitter and be like, I have 52 notifications. Nick, what did you do? I'm like, I'm sorry. No, you can at me. You can at Scott too. We have a lot of fun with that. Make sure you're also following us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook or you have a Facebook, make sure you're joining our communities there at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. Share a page on your YouTube channel. Share it to your Bronco friends saying these guys are a bunch of dinguses, but we have fun in the morning anyway. So come hang out and have some coffee and, smack my head. Let's just keep it going here. Also, if you listen after the fact, make sure you're going on Spotify, Apple, wherever, leaving a 5-star rating and a comment saying why you like the show, who your favorite hosts are. If you have any questions for us, we'd love to get to them as well. I check that probably once every 2 weeks or so, and do like to bring those up, and that can help us a lot. So I know not everybody's in a position, speaking personally, I know not everybody's in a position always financially to contribute to the show financially. That we really appreciate those who do, because it helps keeps the lights on in here. But if you can't do that but still want to support the show, make sure you're following us, supporting us, liking the channel, leaving us a 5-star rating and a comment on areas where you can do that. That's greatly appreciated. We appreciate you guys so much. We're going to get on out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow on Scott's channel. Right here. There we go. Nope, Scott's clicking it there. And what time on Scott's channel tomorrow? Same time.
Yep, 9:30. We're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We are 9:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mountain, 6:30 Pacific.
Ooh, God. Okay. Yeah, no, it's great. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Everyone, choose kindness and choose compassion. Go Broncos. Let's ride.